Hello and welcome. Everything began to fall apart about 6 months ago. My computer started acting up just before I began editing the Warlock video, but it was during the editing of that video where everything took a turn for the worst. I couldn't tell you how many times my computer crashed while putting that piece together. In fact, I had to render the completed video 5 times before I got a version that didn't have a video glitch. My first thought was that the hard drive was dying again, so I bought an external solid-state hard drive and cloned my original drive onto it. My line of thought was obvious. If my internal drive was going bad, this new external drive would let me keep on keeping on. Unfortunately, the crashing persisted. To make matters worse, all of my backups got corrupted. It was a pretty aggravating time, let me tell you. I have to step back for a moment and mention that not only is my computer a decade old, but all of the software I was using was also pretty ancient. I couldn't update the operating system past a certain version or it would break all the software I had been using. And quite honestly, I couldn't afford to replace the software. Not to mention, I had gotten used to it, so I could edit reasonably fast using shortcuts and templates I had made over the years. At some point I had become convinced that the issue was not a failing hard drive. The issue was an ancient operating system with outdated drivers. There was also the possibility I'd picked up a nasty piece of malware that had somehow gone undetected. I mean, I am a safe surfer and I don't frequent any potentially harmful sites. I also have an antivirus running in the background, but I couldn't rule out the possibility of an infection of some variety. That's just the nature of having an online presence. I won't bore you with all the details, but I did partition my hard drive and try to install a clean version of the operating system. Well, guess what? It couldn't be done. Apple builds in an expiry date to all their old operating systems, and that date had passed for me. While I tried every workaround possible, nothing worked. I even downloaded an updated version without an expiration date, and that still didn't work. So I had no backups, and I couldn't install a clean version. To make matters slightly worse, Apple now considers my computer obsolete, which means I can't install a new version of the operating system even if I wanted to. In other words, I couldn't go back and I couldn't go forward. I was stuck where I was, with a computer that was barely functional. However, there is a way to install the latest version of the operating system through a safe but unofficial means. So I created another partition and gave it a try. Yeah, that didn't work either. In a moment of desperation, I wiped my hard drive clean. The hope was I'd either be able to do a clean install or be able to restall the computer using a backup I'd made with an even older computer I had lying around. Neither method worked, and in the process, I now had an expensive brick for a computer. Obviously, some might think, buy a new computer. Well, yes, that was the original plan. It was really the only option left at that point. But it wasn't as simple as that. With a new computer, I also had to buy updated software, and that was going to be expensive. Certainly there are ways to acquire the software through other means, but that's not a good option for many, many reasons. I don't think I need to elaborate on that statement. Regardless, a new computer with new software was going to be a hefty chunk of change. I even considered doing a fundraiser, but I didn't want to put the burden of getting this channel back into motion on you fine people. For better or for worse, this channel has always been my responsibility. Here's where I get to the point. Using my old computer, I researched the problem I was having. One single, obscure post on a message board saved me from total debilitating frustration. The poster had pointed out the source of their problem was a bad piece of RAM. Furthermore, Apple didn't like third-party hardware in their computers, and this was detected during installation, which prevented the operating system from installing. But mostly, a faulty piece of hardware stalled the installation process. Since I was desperate to begin with, I removed the RAM I had previously installed and tried an installation of the latest version of the operating system. I had tried this probably a half dozen times already and was expecting a failure. To my surprise, it worked flawlessly. In the end, the source of all my problems was a bad piece of RAM I'd installed years ago. Had I just thought to remove it or replace it, I wouldn't have gone through 6 months of agony. But it never occurred to me. Which brings me to today. My computer seems stable. The bad RAM has been replaced. The unfortunate part is I've lost nearly everything I used to make videos. I'm basically starting over, which is why this video is pretty minimalistic. I've managed to find an affordable image editor to suit my purposes, although I have to relearn everything I used to do and adapt to this new program. The same goes for the video editing software I use. Currently, I only have an updated trial version because I have to save up to unlock the full version. Luckily, I have a strong foundation using the old unsupported version, but there is a learning curve due to the interface being moderately different, and I have to recreate all my old shortcuts and templates from scratch since they're too old to import. It's like starting over. So I ask your indulgence while I piece everything together again. It may take a few videos before I get back to the standard I'd previously established. I do have a ton of finished scripts waiting to be produced, so that's some good news. The next one will likely not be visually interesting, but it will be rather long. My plans right now are to do it as a graphically enhanced version of a podcast, but we'll see. I could change my mind in the editing process. I'm kind of weird like that. So, unless some benefactor suddenly appears to fund this channel, I'm going to do my best with what I have on hand. As I said, I'm adapting to a lot of changes, but I think the worst is behind me now.